Okay, so welcome back to tutorial number 3.5. This is the sort of follow-on from the layout video. So thanks to Arthur Knowles from Facebook for saying, hey Pete, there's no sound on there, bro. And yeah, I appreciate it's probably better if I do an example of layout with the sound on so you can actually see what happens, and we can talk about some important parts in terms of the transitions between each segment going into the breakdown and some other bits and bobs, really. So there can be some extras kind of added on. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play you a track I made about 2 years ago. It's called Ayahuasca. The inspiration for this track, it's an original track. So the vocal was my mate Bav. We were sat in the garage one day just making a beat. I kind of laid down the bare bones of it in the arrangement view, the session view, should I say, over here. So let's have a look. Messing around, we laid it down. We were thinking of some lyrics. We thought of something DMT related. So the lyrics go, I don't want to see nobody. I can't even fucking remember. Let me play the lyrics, man, and I'll explain it to you. That's it. I don't want to see nobody. I just want to lose control. Step inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet my soul. So it's in reference to taking DMT and on the spiritual vibe. So you don't want to see nobody. You have your eyes closed when you're taking DMT. You just want to lose control. So you're going to lose control of yourself. Step inside the ayahuasca, DMT, ayahuasca, lose yourself and meet your soul. So whatever happens during when you're tripping, I guess it's a personal experience, but I'm going to play the track all the way through just so you can hear it. It's about 5.5 minutes long. There's 2 breaks. Feel free to skip this part, skip forward 5 or 6 minutes if you don't want to sit and listen to it all. So here we go.
I just wanna lose control. Step inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet my soul. I don't wanna see nobody, I just wanna lose control. Step inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet my soul. I don't wanna see nobody, I just wanna lose control. Step inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet my soul. I don't wanna see nobody, I just wanna lose control. Step inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet my soul. just wanna lose control. Step inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet my soul. I don't wanna see nobody, I just wanna lose control. Step inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and lose myself in ayahuasca, lose myself in ayahuasca, lose myself in ayahuasca, lose myself in 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 ayahuasca. I don't wanna see nobody. I don't wanna see nobody. Step inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet my soul. I don't wanna see nobody. I don't wanna see nobody, I just wanna lose control. Step inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet my soul. I don't wanna see nobody, I just wanna lose control. Step inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet my soul. I don't wanna see nobody, I just wanna lose control. Step inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet my soul. Meet my soul, meet my soul, meet my soul, meet my soul.
So that's the tune. Some people will like it, some people won't like it. For me, when I made this, it was just sort of a menacing one. Very simple because the bass line, if I remember, was just like 2 notes. There's quite a lot to the drum pattern, but so let's use this as an example to show you a basic layout. Now, when I was talking in the last layout video and saying, listen, it's entirely up to you how you lay it out. So you'll see here, I haven't actually dropped the bass line on 1 minute or 32 bars. I believe it actually comes in here, which is like sort of 45 seconds in. I know I said ignore the timing down the bottom, and it's more to do so with this. If we have a look, you're looking 24 bars, so it drops in after 24. So let's open up some of, I'll tell you what, no, we'll do this first. So we'll look at it in sections. So this bit here is your intro. So I'll change the colors of it so we can see. So introduction. It will then go for 32 bars as a drop. Let's turn this to blue. It will then go into the first break, so break 1, which will be 16 bars. We'll make the breaks red. Oh, well, that's fucking, come on, man. Let me just, I can move this over. Listen, just use your imagination, right? Otherwise, I'm going to change all the clips. I have to chop them. So this is your first break, which is 16 bars. And then we roll into here, which is the same as the blue section. Let's make that blue, which is it's pretty much the same as this. However, there's added elements, and we'll go for each one as we go, because the point is you don't want all your elements to come in on your first drop. You want to wait for your break and then add extra elements, because you're building the track up as it goes. So you're building it up, you come into your second break, it's hitting at its peak, and then it's simmering down. So the second break is actually a lot longer. So the second break is 32 bars, which is this section here. Let's see if we can make this red. Yeah. And then the last drop and the outro. So really, the last drop is about here before. So, pardon me, it's slightly shorter. And then this will be the outro. I could have made this tune longer quite easily by just adding a longer outro. Another 30 seconds or another 16 bars of outro, but I just didn't feel it was needed, to be honest. So it doesn't stick by any sort of rule. You can hear when we first kick in, just before, I think the B line comes in here with a filter on it. So I've got a high pass filter on the bass. Let me find the bass. The bass was done, I believe, with an M1. I think this is the bass. Let's have a listen. No, that's not the bass. This one. Yeah, so this is the bass. Let's open up the bass track and let's have a little look at the notes. 2 notes. Ignore that. That has no effect. And it's slightly offset as well. So as I was saying, you can offset your baseline a little bit. It doesn't actually have to be on the one. So what that's doing there, that little gap is allowing the kick just to pop through a little bit more. You've got the side chain as well, but for some reason I played that in. That sounded right. I didn't move it across, and it works. So don't be too fussy, man. Don't be too fucking precise and worry too much. Just groove and just make something. So the bass actually comes in sort of 30 seconds, 16 bars in, but it's filtered. So we look on the bass channel. I've done this. There's a filter somewhere. I don't know where the fuck. I'll probably link that from something else. It's the filter, man. What the fuck? Listen, this track's old. I'll definitely pop the filter on there. It might be on the master, so I've activated the master to filter at this bit, which has activated the bass line, and then it drops in here. Anyway, let's just go into the full kind of all the full elements of the track. This is a drum bus. So what I've done is I've taken all the drum elements and I've just bussed them together. And what that is just grouping all of the drums. So I can then add something on this one channel here, which will bring all the drums together. Usually, you add a compressor to pull them all in. It looks like I've put things on here like gentle squeeze, saturation, drum bus. And some of these I've popped on and not used. So at some point, I planned on obviously using a filter, but you can see there's no red mark. If there's a red mark on any of your shit, like up here, that's a signal that you've automated it somewhere. But I can tell, I could delete this, and this, and it'll have no effect on the drum pattern at all. Let's just play the drums on their own. Quite a simple drum pattern. There's a few hi-hats. I think there's a couple of snares. What have I done with the kick? I've got 2 kicks here, and I haven't duplicated the kicks, just so you know. Some people will tell you, listen, if you want your track to sound fatter, just fucking duplicate everything. Personally, I don't recommend it. The reason I've got 1 kick here and a second kick up the top is because this kick's muted. And what this kick's doing is this kick is rolling with the B line's side chain. So when I spoke about side chain before, so if I play the kick and the bass, I'm going to put this on as well. Actually, no, I'm not. If I play the kick and the bass, where's the fucking bass gone? This is why I should label your tracks, guys. You see the side chain that's slapping? That's not actually linked to here, to this kick. It's linked to this one. And the reason I've done that is because during these gaps here, on these little transitions where I'll take the kick out so you know something's going to happen to roll into the next section, what you don't want to happen is your bass to be fully released through this bit if it's on. So it's not on there. It's not on. So it's not on there, so it wouldn't really matter. It's not there where the kick's out, so it doesn't matter. It's not there where the kick's out, so it doesn't matter. But there'll be somewhere within this track where it is, I hope. If not, what I've just said is absolutely fucking pointless. However, if you did want your B line to roll without the kick being in, you want the side chain to stay on. Otherwise, your bass is going to be significantly louder because that side chain where it ducks it every time the kick happens will be noticeable. And what you don't want to happen is your bass line to be really loud within the break and then the tune drop and actually go quieter because it'll ruin the emphasis. You want it the other way around. You want it to be sort of quieter within the break and then everything come in that's fat afterwards. So you can, in essence, and I know some people do this, that they turn down, they automate the volume on the master to turn down the track subtly just before the break, just before the drop, sorry. So when it drops in, there's a significant difference. You can do that. There's no rules. As I said in the very start of this whole tutorial session, just do what works for you. So anyway, we build up, it's just a pure drum beat for the first 16 bars. I've then got 8 bars where I will introduce the bass line. And then there's a transitional period is what I call it here, where something drops out. And what have we got here? So this, what's this? snare roll. That's just an audio file I've dragged in. You can write that yourself. You can use, maybe I've got one on here. You can use a snare and pop something in. But as long as you've got something, if you listen to the difference, probably best to show you that way. You know something's about to happen. The tune stops. Then it drops in. But you don't want it to be dropped all the time, just repeatedly going, because it gets boring. So as you can see, I've played it again for another 8 bars, and then I've chopped the bass out and I've chopped the kick out. Everything else is still rolling, and that's just before I'll introduce a new element, which is this riser. So I've got an effect riser here, which, let's listen to that, which is building tension up. Just before another transitional period here, before it drops in again. So in essence, this is a repeat of this, but we've had a little bit of a build up and we've had a transitional period like a snare roll. Let's just listen to this a little bit here and see what happens. So what I've done there is I'm teasing you in of introducing this synth. Because I didn't want the synth to just drop in and start rolling, the synth doesn't come in until the break and then comes back in after on the second drop. But I wanted to give you a little bit of a teaser of it. So I've slipped it in here. I've cut the kick out. I've cut most things out. So that's not quite. If you look here, look, between the 20, if you go across these blocks, you'll see it's not quite a full loop. It's not a full, what are the 16 bars? It's not a full, because what I've done is I've chopped some of it off here and made way for this little section here, which is how many? What, like fucking 2 bars? 2-bar section there for it to transition over into a repeat again. So that just drops, builds up as a transitional period, drops again. I'm not sure if I introduce anything new here. Let's have a listen. Inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet my soul. I don't wanna see nobody, I just wanna lose inside this. No, nothing. It just repeats. It just repeats over, and there's a delay on. There's that little da 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 da, and there's a delay on. I think it's this. Let's have a listen. Not that. Is it this? No, there's a little vocal somewhere that's going. You'll hear it in the track when you play it again. I don't want to see nobody. Inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet my soul. I don't want to see nobody, I just want to lose. And then what's happening here? So when you get to the second half of your first drop, is what I call it. You're going to start building into your breakdown. So to build into your breakdown, you're kind of building up, but also reducing the track at the same time. And what I mean by that is you're letting it simmer down. So you're not going to build up to drop in something new. If you want to make it obvious that it's coming into a break. So if the break starts here, you'll see I've chopped these elements out. I've got something new here, which is massive. What have I got on massive? Some arpeggiated sounds. And let's see how this transitions into the break. Right, there's a reverse reverb on there. What a reverse reverb is this. I'll show you how to make one of them in 1 second. A reverse reverb is basically taking the first note of this vocal, which is I don't want to see nobody, and recording it onto a new audio track with reverb on it and then reversing it so it slides in. So this actual reverb here, although it looks like it's, you know, just a sample, it's not. It's been recorded in. Let's listen. That's Bava's voice, reversed with a reverb. So if I take this and I reverse this, this will be the but with a reverb on it. You might not be able to tell. Let's just put it back. To do a reverse reverb, if I just open up a new audio channel here, and we come to the vocal. So this is the vocal. What you'll do is you'll drag the first hit, what it's going to slide into, drag it over somewhere. So we're going to do it here. Let's just change the color. You then create a new audio channel. So we'll create another one. We're going to put a reverb onto this. This is the vocal chain. So let's go over to audio effects, which are here. You want it 100% wet. You want to do about a 15-second delay. That's all you need to do. Don't worry about messing with all these parameters for now. Just do that. And then when we play this, you'll hear the difference. Let me just turn it off so you can hear it first.
I don't want to see
Too much. You just want the first syllable. That. Now let's turn this on. So the channel that you've just put in, this audio channel here, where it says EXT in, you want to make sure that you take in whatever's coming out of this and recording it into this. To do that, you can press this and go to 24, which is the channel we're looking at. So what I've just told this channel is anything that's coming out of this channel is going to come into this one. And then you can simply just record it. So you can arm the track here. Click on the bit you want, press record, and then watch here. You'll see it recording. Stop it. Now, to keep it in time, we're not just going to take this and reverse this. First, make sure it fits within the blocks. So just drag that over. That's cool, right? You can consolidate that if you want, so it's fixed at that length. And then you can double click it, press reverse. And this is this bit, so this is the same as that really. You want to go back here, you want to delete the reverb because you don't need it anymore. You want to delete this because it's not going to sit there anymore. And then you've got to drag this over to here. Now, if we zoom in, you'll see that it tails off, the audio file tails off here. And that's going to sound quite strange because it's going to tail off and then it's going to kick in. So there is always, with reverse reverbs, a slight overlap. So you can drag it across a little bit and then cut this bit out so it's almost at its peak. Like a riser, when a riser is building up from quiet to high, you want it at its peak. And that's all I've done there. That's all that is. I think I might have gone in and turned the file up a little bit. I think I've double clicked it and maybe turned the volume up a bit here. So you can see it more significantly there. So that's what that riser is. Now the riser is telling you by your ears that something's about to happen and the break's about to kick in. Let me just pull these down so you can see. So as the break is here, something new, which is not completely new. And the reason why I teased this sound here is because I was going to put it in the break. And I didn't want it to be completely foreign, where it sounds like the tune's completely changed. You've heard it, just a little snippet before. So it sucks into that, into the break. All of the drums disappear at this point. Let's just listen to how it transitions over.
I don't wanna see nobody, I just wanna lose control. Step inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet my soul. I don't wanna see nobody, I just wanna lose control. Step inside this ayahuasca, lose myself and meet myself. Ayahuasca, lose.
Now, this is where the tension starts to build within the second half on these last 8 bars. So you notice that the bass comes back in, which has an auto filter on it with a low pass, taking all the bass line out, but you can still hear the sort of high notes and the riff. There is some percussion that comes back in. I think it's just a hi-hat. The vocal runs throughout the whole break. This synth sound runs throughout the whole break, but you'll hear like a riser happening. So this pulse riser, which is, I think that might just be a sample, I'll call that somewhere. So you can tell it's building up, and just before it drops, I chop everything out over 1 bar, and I think I'll put a snare roll in. So let's just listen to this segment here. Let's loop it. This bit. Yeah, so I've added an effect on the vocal, and I've done a small snare roll. So if we play that in accordance with everything else, we'll just play this little bit to here so you can hear it drop in. What I've done here is I've taken this blue part, I've literally dragged it. You can see, look at it. I've dragged it and I've just copied it over. So the drum pattern, I've just Control D, just copy that bit straight over. I've changed the vocal a little bit. This is the vocal chain. So the vocals, there's no vocal there. When you first drop on here, there is some vocal, so you're still adding. And then effectively, like I said, this whole blue section, if you look, is pretty much the same. That's the drum pattern. So it's the same there and it's the same there. The only difference is this element comes in and the vocal's different. So that's where you can be creative and you can start adding elements in. You can introduce new synths, introduce anything you want. And the importance of these little transitional periods are, it gives you that space to drop something new in or take something out. So you'll see there's gaps all the way along this track. And the reason I do that is, as I said, something's going to be taken in, added in or taken out. So you've got to do it on the way up. You've got to do it during the break. And you've got to do it on the way out. I mean, you don't have to, but this is how I do it. And that's how when somebody's listening, they're not actively, consciously listening. So you could say how they subconsciously know something's about to change. So let's just play here again, the drop into this, and you'll see even before I introduce this new element here, I've taken this synth out, I've dropped the kick out a little bit. So have a look, listen to this.
Step inside this iOS, can lose myself and meet my soul.
And again, before, because you just don't want this whole thing running for 1 minute and sounding boring. In between the two sections of your main drop, I've cut out 2 bars. I've added this with a delay on it and a snare roll just to drop back into the same thing. Because the track's pretty boring, it's the same shit all the way through. If I was just to have this tune running like that for fucking 5 minutes, it would be even more dull. So you have to have these transitional periods where you can add elements in just to move it over. So it's a 32 bar first drop, 16 bar break, 32 bar second drop, and then we go in for a long break. Now this long break, if I come to this period here, so as you can see, I've added a new element. What's this? This is massive. That's the build up. It's similar to this end. Which ain't too, no, it's exactly the same. But that here continues into the break. Let's just listen to how it drops into this second break. So it's just a drum beat with the vocal on. You've got that reverse reverb coming up. You've got a uplifter or a riser or white noise or whatever you want to call it, the little effect thing that comes in. And it just, the bass is gone. The kick is still there, but the kick is not at its full power because there's an auto filter on it. And then I'll say it again, the transitional little period where things get chopped out and then the synth gets introduced. You see there, reverse reverb again, which sucks into the vocal, so the vocal comes in. The kick's then released, but there's no drums. And then when it comes to this bit, I completely changed the pattern. I changed the drum pattern here. So I think I changed the way the kick works. Have a listen. I think I changed the bass. The bass, the synth, it's going dun 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 dun. I can change color there because it's a completely different synth. But during this bit, depending on what you want, you've really got a whole sort of 32 bars to play with. A lot of tunes, they'll do like a long snare roll here, and that snare roll will just slowly build up. So the way they do that is they'll take a filter and they'll start it with a high pass. So they'll get rid of all the highs and they'll slowly bring the filter up and open up the highs. And then maybe use an EQ to take off the highs and put the Q up on the EQ to turn it up so you don't lose the sound, and then just drop into it. So it's all about tension and release. But I was feeling just maybe sticking something different in there, which doesn't run for the full 4 bars. It only runs for 3. And then you've got this, again, this 2-bar section at the end, which completely drops off. And what's in this bit? Let's play. So it's me putting an effect on the vocal again to kind of make it all phasey and fade out and chop up a little bit just before a snare roll, before it kicks back in to the final drop. So let's play that. Lose myself from ayahuasca. I don't want to see nobody. To be fair, that's my favorite drop. It's sinister. There's not a lot going on, but I like the way I've chopped the vocal and it goes, I don't want to see nobody. I don't know. For me, this is my favorite drop. It's different to this drop, only ever so slightly. You'll notice that this section here, this section here, and this section here are pretty much exactly the fucking same. And then when it rolls for 16 bars, I'll split it like the same here, where I've split down these bits, have that little 2-bar transitional period, and then it starts to build out. So let's listen between the last drop and how it kind of starts to fade out. Want to see nobody. You see, I added this element there, and I've added this element here. You could say, well, Pete, you're still building it back up. In essence, kind of, but there's a reason, there's a method to the madness. The reason I'm adding this element there is so when I take it away, it feels like something's been taken away. Because what I could do is this synth here, I could put that on the main drop, because this whole thing's been building up with this synth through the break, and that could drop there, but I wasn't feeling it at the time. I just wanted it to drop simply with that. I don't want to see nobody, but let's try it and see how that works. Lose myself from I don't want to see nobody. So I could do that, but then what's going to happen is when I get to here and that synth dips out, it's going to feel like the tune's winding down, and it still had a little bit more to go. Because if somebody's going to start mixing into it, if that's your main kind of last drop, you don't want it after 16 bars to start winding down. So That's why I've left it just to drop simply. It's built up with this synth. It's gone into a little transitional period. Something new's come in, and then I've taken that away. And this last bit is just no vocal, just the drum beat and the bass line. As I mentioned at the start of this track, I could have made that longer, and you guys probably will with yours. Really, I could have copied the outro, the intro here, if I wanted to, and just drag that there onto the end point, which would have been here.
I don't wanna see nobody.
With, you have to reverse it, so I'd have put all the drum bits in.
I don't wanna see nobody. I don't wanna see nobody. I just wanna.
So it could end like that and make your tune longer, but for me, at that point, I thought, you know what, that'll do. That's enough.
I don't wanna see nobody.
So technically, when you're mixing, if you're mixing with other house tunes, it is around about 32 bars before the bass drops. So if I know that I'm letting the second break play out, I've got the second tune in my ear, I'm about to press play, it's already in time, I've beat matched it earlier, and I press play here, when the new bass kicks in for the new tune, so when that starts rolling, I know my tune's over, but it's not completely because you've still got the vocal little bit.
I don't want to see nobody. I just want.
So that'll be playing with the new bass line coming in. So the transition when somebody's mixing, it's still there. But, you know, making it longer, I could have done that to give people more time to mix out. But if you need, I don't know, if you need 2 minutes to mix out, you need a bit more practice, man. That's my opinion. So yeah, that's pretty much the track in terms of layout. In terms of how I'm not very organized, let's be real. I haven't labeled all this. I know I'm telling you guys to label it all and stuff. It's up to you. If you want to, if you're going to come back to it and start fucking with it and keep, you know, you really organize, you save all your projects and etc., then cool. Myself, I'll make something, I'll either release it, leave it, and I barely ever come back to it. I was trying to open a project earlier which had like missing all the missing samples and stuff, because I think I've dragged it into a different folder from where it once lived and forgot the samples folder that creates when you create a project. So I've lost on top of that numerous projects as well. So you can label everything up if you want to. I'll just go through each individual channel and show you what's on there. So as I mentioned, the drum bus, on the drum bus is just all of your drum elements. You know how to make a drum beat now. I've added, for some strange reason, this snare is outside of the drum bus. That may have been added later. I may have felt that it needed an extra bit of snare on top. What's on this snare? Let's have a look what's on the snare. Fuck all. Look, an EQ, and we'll talk about EQ in another session. An EQ, just taking out the low end. Then we've got an M1, which is the bass line. I know I mentioned the bass line will be one of your stronger channels. So I've used an M1 VST. I've got the sidechain slapping against the Ghost kick channel, which I mentioned earlier at the top. There's an EQ. There's a drum bus boosting it up, and then I've monoed it with a utility. I've used Massive for this synth. On Massive, again, we've got an EQ. I've compressed it. There's an auto filter here as well, which I can tell. See this little red dot? There's some automation going on here with this frequency at some point. I've then got another M1 underneath. What's on there? To be honest, I don't think there's anything on there. It must have been at some point, because I've got a sidechain running and stuff. I can't see. Fuck knows. Maybe the tune sounded slightly different. One of them. That may have been there though from this view when I was messing around in the session view. So like I said a million times, I always start my beats here. So I lay down a basic idea and then I roll. We can click through to see what I've actually got on here. I'll probably unsolo it. So that's how the drum beat would have started. possibly an idea for a breakdown or build up starting there. I'd have got to this point and gone, you know what, I'm feeling that groove. Let's drag it over into the arrangement view, and then started laying out the arrangement. So there actually is nothing on there. So that could be deleted in essence. What we've got here, congas. Same again. Maybe doesn't look like there's any MIDI on the congas. Maybe there's one here somewhere. No, so that could be deleted. Classic organization, this is, guys. And then we've got tom, which should technically be within the drum bus, same as that snare, but it's not. Who gives a shit? We're not too fussy. That still works. Then we've got a Serum here, which is another VST like massive, like the M1 virtual instrument that produces a sound with some MIDI notes on it. So your synth. We scroll down a bit more. We've got a sample effect. So that's an effect of a riser of some sort for a sample. Move down here. We've got a fill. You can create these fills yourself. I'd normally recommend creating fills yourself off your own drums, because when you're looking for a fill sample, the sample might not fit tonally with the rest of your drums, unless you want it to sound completely obscure. What's this one? Completely different drums than what we got here. Yeah, just a couple of sample fills. But normally, I was probably feeling lazy at the time, or I thought, you know, that kind of works. I'll create that off my own MIDI drums. And underneath that, we have a vocal snippet, which on the vocal snippet, we've got a delay, a simple delay, which is synced over 8. In this middle section here, it's saying delay only this frequency in this bubble with a simple EQ on it. Let's scroll down a bit more. I've grouped the vocal. There would have been a reason for that at some point. Let me have a look. The vocal, and if you're wondering how I've kind of got it choppy, and when I say I edited the vocal and messed around with it, this is your reverse reverb, is I've actually used external help. So I've used something called Isotope's Stutter Edit, which is an absolute fucking bad boy little plugin. What you can do is you can put that onto any channel and then activate by pressing MIDI certain preset effects that will chop and morph your audio or your MIDI sound. So if I go to, where are we? Here. You'll see these dots. So what that's doing is that's telling, this dot here is telling Isotope only on this little section to affect the vocal a little bit there. So I've got a few of them hooked in. But what you need to do to set this up is you need to tell it to go out into this channel and act as a MIDI signal. We'll do another video, a complete video just on Isotope Stutter Edit, because it's a cheap VST, but it's worth buying. And all of these are just MIDI effects. These 4 channels are MIDI attached to this vocal, where each different one, because I might not like one preset for one thing and keep it for the whole thing. So I've created 4 separate channels. So the different effects that will come out of, say, Stutter Edit will affect the same vocal channel in different ways. What we got down here, let's have a listen. Really shit snare roll, like a super fucking shit one. If I listen to that, I think, you know what, that doesn't even sound very swung, to be honest. It sounds very straight. Must have been stoned at the time. What we got here, more percussion. That again, and this could be stuck into the drum bus. So I probably created the drum bus, been listening to the tune and thought, you know what, it needs something else, and just added extra elements. As long as you EQ it in you'll be fine. And finally, we've got here a drop and a rise. So to be sincere, these should be on 2 different channels. That should be on one, that should be on another, just so you can EQ it better. But I haven't felt the reason to. I've just taken out the low end and that's done. So that's pretty much the tune. It's not overly complex. But again, if you listen to the tune, it's not a very dynamic one. The real thing that's making it sound different are these transition periods in between the sections, and that's what this video is kind of here to talk about. Let's have a look on the master and see what I put on there. I think I've self-mastered this. Give me a second.
Inside this iOS, gonna lose myself and my soul. I don't wanna see nobody.
Yeah, so on the master channel, I have got an auto filter there, which you can see the red dot. There's some automation going on, so that's going to turn on when the breaks happen. Endless smile. Endless smile is interesting. Endless smile is, I'm going to show you that. I believe endless smile is within audio effects rack, performance and DJ. Let's have a little look down. No, it's not. That's a VST. I'm not even using it. Fade to gray is what I was thinking about. When I come to breakdowns, I'm going to show you fade to gray, because you can put these plugins and these effects from Ableton on to your whole track through the master and turn it on during your breaks, and it will make your break sound well interesting. And it just really makes it easy. I've got 2 EQs, so we'll move on. We've got 2 EQs. On this one, I've took out the complete low, very low part, anything below 20 hertz, anything above 18 hertz. I don't tend to do that much nowadays, if I'm sincere. I've boosted the highs a little bit here on a second EQ, so you can add multiple EQs. You don't just need to put one. So as I've taken this away, I've boosted the highs here a little bit to make the treble and the top end come through. I've then compressed everything down. Let's just look at that compressor.
Inside this iOS, gonna lose myself and my soul. I don't wanna see nobody, I just wanna laugh.
No makeup gain when you compress on the master channel, but we're going to cover the master channel in a separate video. Don't put makeup gain on, because when you pull your threshold down, the volume's going to go up. Then I've got multi-band dynamics, which are basically 3 compressors. There's 1, 2, 3, but they're split into bands. So you got the low band, the mid band, and the high band. I've done nothing on the mid band. Let me just play it.
Inside this iOS.
I've increased the top end and I've reduced some of the low end. Moving over, there's a reverb on here for some strange reason. I'm not sure why. However, that reverb isn't on. You don't put a fucking reverb on your master channel and leave it on. It's going to ruin your whole tune, right? If you look down here where there's a red dot, you can see that I've turned it off by making it completely dry. So at some point throughout this tune, I've decided, probably within the break, that to build more airiness and more tension, that we're going to reverb the whole track. So that's what that'll be. And then there's a limiter with the gain turned up and the ceiling. I could make that ceiling to 0 if I like. Some people will make the ceiling sort of -3, -0.3. Depends how loud you want your tune or where you want to release it. That's pretty much it for today. I hope you like the tune. If you want a copy of this track and you've got Ableton 10 and you can work in Ableton 10, I'm more than happy to send the template over for you guys. I'll cover another tune as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover now, or in the next sort of small segment, a track which I'm releasing more recently, which is going to be coming out on the 15th of July on Beatport for 2 weeks before it goes on to other stores. And I made this track about 2 weeks ago. So I'll cover that as well. It's a lot simpler, and I've mastered it myself. Just to talk about releases, actually, because when you guys are making tunes, you're eventually going to come to a point where you want to release your music. Bear with me, I'm rolling a fag at the same time. So probably for me, one of the most frustrating parts about the whole musical journey, because of the way labels behave. And to be sincere, you'll send a tune off, you'll wait fucking 3 months, hear nothing back. You'll send a tune exclusively, thinking, you know what, I'm going to send this on SoundCloud, I'm going to label it. This is for XYZ Records or whatever the record label is. If there's an XYZ Records out there, I wasn't actually referencing them, right? I'm just saying it could be any record label. And be disheartened when they don't come back to you. Or you could think, you know what, I've got my tune into a certain position and we'll cover mastering and mix downs. I'm going to send it off to get mastered. I'm going to spend £250 to have this mastered. It's going to come back. It's going to be an absolute banger. Calm down, right? Because your masters are only as good as your mix down. And we're going to cover mix downs completely. We'll do a full session on it. Now, I've sent tunes off and I've had them mastered for £15. I've sent them off. I've had them mastered for £250. I've then gone in and mastered them myself, compared the difference, and thought, you know what? There's not that much of a difference. And the truth is, if you use you use 5 mastering engineers and pay them all 500 quid, right? The tune's going to come back and it's all going to sound different. As long as it sounds within range and right to you, then it's cool. Try not to stress about it. But anyway, the release is coming out. I've mixed it down. I've mastered it myself. I actually road tested it last night when I was DJing. So I played in Birmingham yesterday evening. And I thought I'll test out the new tune on a system just to see how it compares against other mastered tunes. And to be honest, I was quite happy. And you'll see that my lazy mix down master has actually worked. And hopefully that inspires you guys to not feel too daunted that you have to be a fucking sound engineer to get your sounds out in the club and popping and rolling. But we'll have another conversation, or me preaching, should I say, about releases and what you can do about it, how you can help get your music out there. And also, if you're struggling and getting frustrated, reach out to me. I've got a label. So I like your tune, we'll bang it on. So I'm all about engaging with people that listen to these videos and trying to help people through these barriers of frustration. And also, if you've got any questions, just give me a shout as well. So until next time, mofos.
Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere.
I'm not.
Don't go anywhere.
I'm not. I'm sitting on my
Don't
back.
go anywhere.
Wait, don't go anywhere yet. I was going to show you this tune, the tune I was on about. I'm releasing on the 15th. Now, what's funny about this one, compared to the last one, or compared to other ones I can pull up and show you, is this one takes the absolute piss. It's 12 channels. I'm talking to you guys saying, you know, your tunes will be around 30 to 60 channels. This thing's, I was real lazy with it, but I was feeling it. I thought, fuck it, I'll mix it down, I'll master it, and I'll put it out. But I didn't make that much effort. So let me play the tune so you can hear it. I'll only play it. I mean, the layout of this one, back to layout, is I've got one little break here and then it just kind of rolls out. It's 4.5 minutes. The first drop comes in after 15 seconds. Obviously, when I was mixing that yesterday, I knew I'd made it. So I knew I had 15 seconds to blend it in and switch to B-line over. However, this is an example of a really lazy production that it actually sounds pretty decent, in my opinion. It's, again, tech house, but just have a listen. won't play the full track, but that's pretty much the essence of the tune. And what's really funny is I thought, you know what, fuck it, that'll do, and then I'm releasing it. So you can do the same thing. And the purpose of me showing you this is some may like this tune, some may think it's shit. Doesn't matter. Music's subjective. Someone somewhere is going to like your tune. Many people, places won't like your tune as well. But if it works for you, you think it's a groove, just make it, put it out, and stop panicking and being finicky about silly little bits within the song and prohibiting your productivity levels. Make it move on, make it move on. Just keep making as many different grooves and beats as you can. I'll quickly run you through this. This is a fucking 95% MIDI tune. I've got two M1s on. So this is a flute. It's one note. There's an M1 on there. What I've done is I've hit a flute note and then I've used the pitch bend on my push to bend it to create this sound. I've then taken another flute from an M1 and I've written in some MIDI notes. I just nothing on it. There's a EQ on there, taking out the low end, EQ on there, taking out the low end. There are some parameters within the VST itself, like some reverb, etc., but nothing to stress about at the minute. What we've got here, we've got kick drum. On the kick drum, I've left it as it is. I've put a saturator on there. I've turned it to a soft sine just to boost it up and make it sound a bit fatter. B-line. B-line is the operator bass that I've been showing you. I've chopped out the low end to let some of the kick drive there. And I've also cut some of the high end. You don't need this. I'm just operating within this frequency here between sort of like 150 to maybe like 70, 60, 70. Flapping with the side chain against the kick. I used a drum bus to drive it up. And auto filter, which cuts out. I haven't even stuck a utility on this. There's no utility on it. This is what I mean. What the fuck? Here, I've got a clap, simple clap that I've made a little pattern out of with an EQ on. Here we have a hi-hat. Again, it's a simple EQ. We've then got bongos, which are in a drum rack, I believe. Yeah, a drum rack pattern of bongos. Simple EQ, take out the low end, boost up a little bit the high end, left that bit the same. What's this? This is an M1. That's the same as this. So the reason I've got two channels is this one here during the break. I've left that to be more bassy than this one because I wanted this to blend in. So let me just show you on this track. See the difference? Difference is EQ's on and EQ off, and all this is it's a bongo pattern I've made with a bongo a VST and selected like a percussion thing and just made that. The whole tune started around this. I like the vibe of it. Then I just built simple drums, simple bass. Went over to old YouTube, robbed some fucking African tribal thing. Let me see if I can find the whole thing. This is the whole thing I took off YouTube. I just went in, found that one segment, looped that, chopped and played around with it. And then on the bottom channel, we have, I mean, even on the YouTube, I've just simple EQ. On the bottom channel here, what's this? This is, I mean, this is really fucking amateur and taking piss. I don't know what the fuck I was doing, but even here I should have had an EQ on there to pull the sounds out. But as I said, I road tested this yesterday and it absolutely fucking banged. It banged against, like I played a Salado tune. It was a I can't remember the name of it. And then I put this on afterwards and it was just like, you know what? Fucking fair play. It works. Master chain, even really simple on the master channel. This filters there just to come on during the breaks or whenever I want to do a transition period. I've compressed it a little bit, I've saturated it, and then I've stuck a limiter on and turned the volume up. So mix downs, I've mixed it down, of course. You can see here I've got a this reverb here. This sends this channel through the reverb, then out to the master. So the clap's got a bit of reverb on it. We'll cover that in a separate video. When it comes to mix downs, which we'll cover a whole separate video on it, you are 90% there if you get your levels right here. See on these channels, you get the volumes correct. You're 90% there. So here's an example of how you can come out with a tune which is going to sound half decent, go against some of the club tunes. I mean, it's a self-mastered beat. It's not going to be absolutely fucking movie ready, super fantastic. But I road tested it and it banged. So you don't need to have years and years of lessons and go to college and study, you know, music fucking engineering to be able to put something together. I've got a 12-channel track with a simple mix down, a simple master, and it's working. So yeah, look out for that. That's going to be out on the 15th on Beatport, and then it comes out across all stores the end of July. One thing I forgot to mention as well, shout out to YouTube, shout out to Derek O'Flynn. I've gone and got myself 1 subscriber, man. Fucking moving. Business is moving. No, I appreciate it. I know most of you guys watch this on Facebook, but I'm also putting it on YouTube. The reason I'm sticking it on YouTube as well is because it can be catalogued easier. So from lesson 1 to however long we continue to do these little tutorials. But that's it for today.